You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Folks, Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the oldest living broadcast out of a handful of the oldest broadcasts that still does daily interviews of people and bring in all the wonderful shows. 45 shows a month, I think we do for you folks out there. So please help support the oldest podcast that's still daily broadcasting in the world before we fall down and break our hip. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, and all those crazy places on the internet. Today's featured author comes to us from bookstolifemarketing.co.uk. With expert publishing to strategic marketing, they help authors reach their audience and maximize their book success. Today we have an amazing young man on the show. We're going to be talking about his book and insights. His book is called Destruction of Democracy, Essays on the Fight for Democracy by William H. Lloyd Jr. We're going to get into it with him and find out more about the deets and maybe how we can build a better world. That's what the show's all about. William Lloyd is a financial expert, former federal investigator, and longtime researcher of America's social, political, and spiritual landscape. Researching on professional experience and personal recovery, he examines national crises, historical patterns, and biblical warnings to help readers understand the forces shaping America's future. Welcome to the show, William. How are you?
Good. I'm good today.
Give us .coms, websites, social media, wherever you want people to find you on the internet, sir.
They can find me at williamhowardlloyd.com.
It's good to get your name. You could get your name as a .com, that is. Give us a 30,000 overview of what's inside your book.
Initially, this was a message to the nation of America, and it's a message of a return. Call for a return, the return to the covenants of God, a return to the 10 Commandments, a return to the teachings of Jesus Christ. Because we are in a crisis right now, and the next 3 years are going to be a calamity.
Yeah, I probably agree with you there from what we've seen in the first two. Or 1.5, maybe. So, what do you foresee in the book of happening in the next 3 years that you're concerned about?
I quote scripture, and it's from Ezekiel, and basically it says that a third of your people will die by pestilence, followed by famine. A third of your people will die by the sword, and a third of the people I will scatter across the world with the sword behind them. So I think to make it less biblical is that I think we're going to have another pandemic. I think we're going to have another war where people are being killed. And I think we're going to have a financial meltdown. And I think the calamity will end on August 29th or August 2029.
Oh, really? Why is that date the date?
I need to do a little background.
Okay.
A lot of this comes from Jonathan Cahn's books, and one of them is on the harbingers. And we've had several harbingers. 9/11 was a harbinger. The financial crisis of 2008 was a harbinger. The pandemic in 2000 was a judgment. The bear market of 2022 and the increase in inflation to 9% was a harbinger. These harbingers occur each 7 years and 19 years. Each harbinger becomes greater than the last. And the harbinger is a call from God to return. So 7 years from 9/11 is 2008, the financial crisis. 19 years from 9/11 is 2020, the COVID pandemic. 14 years from 2008 is 2022, the market collapse and increased inflation to 9%. 19 years from 2020 is 2029. And 7 years from 2022 is 2029. 2029 is when the calamity will reach its climax.
Okay, so this should be interesting. So we just got, technically we're still in a war with Iran, and that's supposed to be hopefully wrapped soon. Let's put it that way. So you see another war beyond that war? Or was that the way, maybe be the prophesied war there?
Not sure about that.
Okay.
I can say this is that the Iran war is not over.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't think it's over in Iran's mind.
Oh no, we'll still be proxy fighting. They'll be proxy fighting us through proxies. Kind of what we've been doing all these years is proxy fighting everybody, and they've been proxy fighting us. Russia and China. They're whether they're active in engagement of violence or whether just supportive in terms of weapons and that sort of thing. So maybe another one. So now, so your feeling is, and now when you said, I looked this up because I was pulling it for reference. Jonathan Cahn, he's the gentleman who is he's written a couple books and I believe he's a reporter for, who was it, the Bulwark or where? Let me see. I guess I lost it somewhere in my deleting things. But is that the gentleman you're referring to, or is it a different Jonathan Cahn? Maybe I didn't spell it right.
Jonathan Cahn, Cahn. He's the author of The Harbinger.
Okay, The Harbinger. Okay, there it is. I was spelling it Cohn, so I had a different Jonathan Cahn. All right, I'll check that out. And what are some other things that go on in America? You talk about, I see here on your Facebook, you're talking about how much $1 trillion we are in debt in our crisis. We have one president now that represents 25% of the national debt or more that he's done in his first or second term that's contributed at $35 trillion. And I can't remember what the stats are, but I think every few days or every week we're racking up, maybe it's daily, we're racking up another $1 trillion in financing charges. So
that sounds about right.
Yeah, I don't quote me, folks. You got to look it up. But it looks like you were saying just 21 minutes ago, $908 billion in 1980, $35 trillion today. So what do we need to do about this in your mind? And I don't know if you talk about it in your book.
Let me first address the threats to democracy that I talk about. I talk about the rise of fascism in the United States. I talk about the American debt crisis. I talk about the American addiction crisis. I talk about abortion. I talk about gun violence. I talk about immigration, and I talk about racism.
And give us some play out on some of those different topics and what you discuss in the book so people have an idea what's in there.
On the rise of fascism in the United States, I talk about the MAGA party and the rise of Donald Trump. And clearly this is a fascist regime.
Oh, clearly.
And nothing good is going to come from this.
Yeah.
And the things that are happening today, the policies that are being in place are laying the foundation for August 2029.
Oh. And so
go ahead.
So you're saying things are going to hit a breaking point under this administration's regime is more of a name for it. We just saw it announced, I think last night or this morning, Donald Trump did his fiduciary disclosure that you have to do as a president, a politician. And of course, there's lots of things that we don't know about on there and there. All the dirty deals and side deals. And I still am wondering where the $500 million is from Venezuelan oil that got parked in Qatar under his name. And I'm like, that seems to have gotten lost. There's so much that's got lost. It's not even insane. They're going to spend 10, 15 years uncovering all the stuff. And it just announced he made $2.2 billion in his first year in the presidency, off the presidency, selling the presidency. That's just insane. Just insane. And corruption. So you think it's going to come to a head in 2029?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it just going to be just so in your face, ugly? We're going to have a collapse of our economic thing, maybe depressionary recession sort of status?
I think the calamity will take that scale. Yes.
Huh. Now, let me play devil's advocate. You're equating Bible prophecy to America's the prophecies in the Bible were aligned or equated to America. Is that a correct assessment?
I think the scripture is aligned to the Jewish people.
Oh, okay.
To the nation of Israel.
Okay.
But I think it's applicable to us in current times.
And that's interesting because America didn't exist. So how would they be writing prophecy for something that didn't exist? And why weren't they more specific to it? There's some people that believe that the Armageddon Revelations is actually, was it Paul that wrote it? We've had people on the show that have researched this, but it was to, I think, Nero or whoever the Roman jerk was at the time that was ruling things. And the Armageddon insults and stuff were directed at him, the guy who was in power at the time. There's some people that say that, but does it seem a little odd that we would assume that the Bible is writing about America? That wouldn't happen for about years.
I think the Bible is divinely intervened, and the hand of God is on it, and so God knows what's going to happen. And I think that there are parts of Scripture in Revelations 13 that talks about Donald Trump.
Really?
Yes.
The beast part, or
it ends with his number is 666. But Revelations 13 details how long he'll rule, Donald Trump. He'll rule for 42 months.
42 months, so that'd be 40. Now, he's not doing too well. I don't know if you've been watching his health, but he's collapsing. I don't anticipate he's even going to be here at the midterms with his health the way it's going. He's in full dimensional collapse. He's having dementia. What do they call it? Sundowning all the time. He's sleeping on the job. I don't think he's going to make it to the end of the year. Do you think with the prophecy and your assessment that he's going to be there 4 years?
I think he'll be there to July 2028.
Really? Okay. Now, why July 2028? What's the significance?
That's 42 months from his inauguration.
Oh, okay. What's 4 years? Oh, 48 is 4 years, huh? Okay. What's going to happen in July then? Do you think we're going to have a big coup?
I don't know whether it's death, disability, or impeachment. But after July 28th, Donald Trump will no longer be the president.
Do they have any prophecy in there for J.D. Vance, what he'll do after Donald Trump somehow disappears from office?
Revelation 13 does talk about the second.
Oh.
Meaning the second to Donald Trump. So it does talk about J.D. Vance.
I wish they would have named him in person so we could watch out for him in the future. We could be like, hey, watch out for that Bob guy. Don't let him in office. You know what I mean? That would have been nice, biblical folks. Now, so what are some other topics you talk about that we need to do to fix this America? Clearly, like I said, one president owns at least 20, I think it's 20 or might be higher percentage of the national debt, was just insane because in both those legislative bodies, they increased people's taxes, took away a lot of benefits, and then gave huge benefits to corporations and billionaires. And it's just, not only is it a money grab, it's a debt grab because it's piled this enormous debt onto generations of Americans in the future. And I guess parents don't really give a shit about it because not too many people complain. They're just like, fuck my kid's future. They'll have to pay for it. Have a nice day.
It's unconscionable.
Yeah, it's amazing how pacifist people are right now as the world burns and everything that America has built over 250 years is completely being burnt to the ground and turned into authoritarian fascism. And people just don't realize how bad this is. We just barely dodged a bullet yesterday with the SCOTUS. One vote off. That should have been 9-0 vote.
It should have been.
Yeah. How do you freaking declare that something is unconstitutional by 4 of the Supreme Court justices that's in the Constitution? It has been for like 170 years or something. Why don't you just declare the whole document unconstitutional? That may be the intent, because what they want to do is they want to bring us into a. Now, the interest of let me ask you this. You talk about the Bible and maybe return to biblical values, I think. What they are trying to do is they are trying to turn us into a theocracy. That's really what white nationalism is. It's a religion, but it's a KKK rebranded religion.
It is.
And it's some dark ass Christian type shit that isn't even really Christian.
It's
but
not.
they want a biblical world for us where we basically are American ISIS. We live by the law of the Bible. So I guess if you're not a virgin, we stone you or some shit, or cut off your hand. Same shit they do with ISIS and Iran. Biblical punishments. It's pretty ugly, man. And they'll bring it because they want the 10 Commandments as the rule of law as opposed to a constitution. So that means you don't get any rights to defend yourself in a court of law. If a bunch of mob wants to stone you in the Bible, they can do that. It'll just be, I don't know, the thing. They want that as a theocracy. They want the Bible to rule the land. Is that what you're also proposing in the book, or is it something different?
Something different. I think there should be a complete separation of church and state. And what's going on now is the enmeshment of the Christian values into the national government. And that's wrong. And I think God doesn't listen to people who are controlled by Satan. I'd like to point out one other thing. I think that I also state that the book also takes a look at the soul and spiritual bankruptcy. And I look at the 4 domains: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And I make the point that we spend plenty of time on the physical, mental, and emotional domains, but for most people, the spiritual element is neglected or completely ignored. This book is a call for balance and an increase in the spirituality in our lives. How many people really pray and meditate on a daily basis? If the first commandment is to love God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind, that's a 24/7 proposition. And we are not doing that.
Yeah. But what if people aren't of religion? Here's one of the things that I understand from life, because I grew up in a religious cult, and I grew up with religion. And in my day and age, religion was hugely popular. Most people were in it. As far as I'm concerned, where we're at now is where religion got us to by following it. So why would we restart that process and go down the same pathway? Maybe the problem is religion.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
I don't think it is.
All right.
I think the truth is in the Bible, and the truth is in Jesus Christ. And until we start accepting that and following that path, because if everyone followed Jesus Christ, there would be no wars. There would be peace.
I'm not sure historically that's the correct context. We've run religious wars to murder people, Catholics and Lutherans and all this stuff. So it's your book to promote, but I have to push back on some things for the audience in question, just to see if we can validate some of the stuff. The Bible isn't. Most Bible scholars will agree the Bible isn't quite accurate, and there's discrepancies, and there might be some fabrication in there. And so how can we trust this book? And like I say, we've lived through the history of religions running this world. They call them the Dark Ages, and the slaughter and the murder and the fortification and everything else. It's in the Bible too. In the Bible, there's two daughters who get their father drunks to have sex with them. I'm not really sure the Bible's the thing. So do we like I say, we've lived for 2,000 years with the Bible, and it has brought us to this point. I don't think that that's going to be the fix, because it's just going to be a repeat of the thing. I
think man has bastardized religion. Man focused on his greed, his pride, his lust, his envy, his sloth, his gluttony, and his anger. We are so sinful, we can't even see our sin. We are so far removed from God.
Now, you talked about abortion. Do we need to make abortion illegal again? What are your thoughts that you write about in the book there?
The first thing I say is I think that abortion is a sin. That God punished the United States and the world for abortion with the pandemic. Lost my train of thought, sorry.
You were saying about the pandemic and something else.
About the pandemic as a judgment on the world from God. I have a chapter on the 7 deadly sins, and I talk about each sin and the demon that we serve when we make a god out of those 7 deadly sins. And I also provide a worksheet to get control over the 7 deadly sins.
And so people need to get back to the 10 Commandments, the 7 deadly sins, you think? Or avoiding the 7 deadly sins with the commandments? I think they're tied, right? A little bit.
I think they're tied.
Yeah, because don't murder, sloth, the opposite of example. And how do we make this all happen? Do you lay out do you just address the issues in the book, or do you lay out a blueprint for how do we turn this thing around? Number one, if we've got fascists in the White House, how do we fix that problem? Especially when they're seizing the election and trying to nationalize it. Most people don't realize the reason Madison and the founders of the Constitution wanted the states to control voting is so the vote couldn't be seized and taken over by kings and fascists and dictators at the federal level, because they knew it was easy to steal, and that's why they did it. It was done on purpose that way to protect our democracy. But now they're trying really hard, and they're succeeding very well at it, to destroy any future elections that we'll have that might be fair and free. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. So how do we get? Do you, in your book, do you have a thing where you tell us what we should do to come?
I lay out a path of correction. I lay it out on an individual basis, and I lay it out on a national basis. I think this change is going to have a grassroots effort. And it starts with the individual. And I talk about reading scripture on a daily basis. I talk about prayer and meditation on a daily basis. I talk about listening to Christian radio on a daily basis, in transforming ourselves. Now, some people are already there. They have a right relationship with God. But there are people who say they have a relationship with God and Jesus Christ, and they back this policy of immigration, which is totally against what Jesus taught. We are committing sins against humanity.
Yeah. Crimes against humanity. And so in the book, what are some other things that you give us that we should utilize to try and, is there any way we can stop this crash from coming by doing something about it?
On a national basis, I say that the country has to have a return. And it's not going to happen with Donald Trump in the White House. So I think that it's pretty baked in. I think these next 3 years are pretty baked in.
Now, we've turned into a kleptocracy. For years, the Republicans have been embracing places like Argentina, where the Nazis went, Hungary, authoritarian places, and also Russia. They've been hoodwinking with Putin for a decade now plus. And they've been dreaming of having a Russia oligarchy where it's a corporatocracy, kleptocracy, and the corporations have all sold out. The billionaires have pretty much all sold out and jumped on the bandwagon of now they're just going to run the country. And I think our elite billionaire class is actually almost a bigger problem than Trump is. You look at what Peter Thiel has done. Pretty much J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are his handpicked boys, and jump when he says jump. And the billionaires, you've got Elon Musk, you've got, like I said, Peter Thiel, you've got a bunch of other billionaires that are in on the take. How do we deal with overthrowing that? Because the SCOTUS just dissembled more voting rights and made it so that you as an individual can only spend $7,000 on political campaigns, but billionaires and rich people can spend nearly $1 million to buy a campaign. And that's just crazy. We're for sale to the corporations now.
We are. And we have created a situation that is going to break the nation.
Yeah. Not for them. They'll be fine.
They'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be fine. But our people need to rise up, or grassroots. There's plenty of grassroots stuff out there. I'm not sure what else we would need to do.
I think everyone needs to take an active effort in saving democracy.
I definitely like that. Everyone does. Everyone is stewards of our democracy. It's all our jobs to vote, to take care of it, to show up, to care, to follow what's happening in our democracy every day. That's how it was designed. That's why we're given the rights and the ability to have the freedom of speech and stuff. But sadly, most people are just lazy as fuck, dumb as fuck, and they don't do anything. So somehow those people need to change too. A third of this country doesn't even show up to vote, right? Yeah, that's a... and if you don't show up because you don't want to make a choice, you still made a choice. Have fun with that. But then I love people who complain about how our democracy is going. I'm like, did you show up and who'd you vote for last time? Oh, you don't get to complain. You either voted poorly, and this was a pretty easy test considering Project 2025 was outlined on how they were going to destroy democracy. So yeah, what else do we need to know about your book maybe that I haven't asked we should talk about?
I have a chapter on LGBTQ rights and their place in society.
Tell us about that.
I basically say that I start the chapter off by saying, why have a chapter on LGBTQ rights in a book on destruction of democracy? And the answer is because LGBTQ rights are about individual rights. And this is what's at stake. We are losing our individual rights under this administration, and things are going to get bad.
Yeah. Huh.
I take a position on LGBTQ. I think that they should be accepted just like any other section of America.
Yeah.
And there should be no discrimination.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what the founders wanted. It wasn't a perfect system when they established it, but they made it an open document, the Constitution, so they could amend it and improve it over time as things changed. And I think people saw that slavery would have to end eventually. It was just such a horror show. But yeah, treating people, the individual rights of people, that's the beautiful part about the Magna Carta and other documents, the Bill of Rights and all these things, is that to give individuals power. And now it seems like we live in an age where that power is, we voted in person to take it away from us. Even more ironic is if 1% of people had voted the other way, we wouldn't have this experience. That makes it even more fun to think about. So what else maybe is in the book that you want people to know about?
I think that I talk about artificial intelligence and the threat to mankind. And I really stress that divine intervention is going to be required, because I also talk about climate change and how I think that divine intervention is going to be required, because I don't think that we are going to be able to maintain Earth's temperature below critical events. And so I think the floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, wildfires are just going to get worse.
Yeah. I think we're going to have that. We're seeing that now. We just had this crazy 3-day heat wave that came and hit the state of Utah, caused a bunch of fires and stuff. And then now it's moved on. It's cool now, like spring. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And here in Utah, we went for a whole winter with 3 snows, which normally we have a whole lot of snow and a whole lot of water and mouse pack. And now we just have forest fires everywhere. So it's pretty crazy. And you can tell something's happening. If you can deny climate change at this point, you really are living in your own private Idaho denial. It's happening. They just keep getting worse. They had a 100-year event of a tornado or a hurricane hitting California, a year or two ago? You're like, what? Anyway, so as we round out the show, tell people some of the offerings you offer on your website, your Facebook page, some of the things you're doing there. I know you mentioned AI as a threat. I don't know if you want to touch on that a little bit before we go.
Yeah, I think the genie's out of the box and it's not going back. And I don't know how you're going to be able to control AI. I think that government is going to be able to control AI is ludicrous.
Yeah.
I don't think it can be done. And so in the book, I talk about the probabilities of total destruction of society. I talk about the probabilities, and it goes through an analysis of, and the bottom line is is that we're likely not going to be destroyed by AI. But the impact on the economy is unforeseen at this point. I think AI has made all our economic models invalid.
It may, if there's huge layoffs and people don't have jobs, that may cause some interesting problems, right? Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We're seeing, although I don't know, we're seeing all these layoffs that are going over AI, and now they're starting to rehire people because they're finding out they overshot the abilities of stuff to get it. That, and it's very costly to use AI, not only from data centers, but a lot of the companies have had to pull back allocation on people that they kept. They expected to turn into these all-purpose agents, bots, and they get an allotment of AI spending now, and so they can't even spend enough money to do their jobs, really, when it comes down to it. It's pretty crazy what's going on when you look at it from the outside. Yeah. So as we round out, give us a final pitch out on what people need to know, where they can pick up your book, and why they should pick it up, et cetera, et cetera.
I think I put my soul into the book, and I think I was called by God to write this book. I think every American should read it. It's important because the thief is at the door. The time is nigh. Revelations is coming true in our time.
Yeah.
And so I would call everyone to check on their relationship with God and their relationship with Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Most of the crimes and assaults and stuff that's being committed now, basically all of the Epstein cabal, all the guys were connected to his pedophilia, and some were engaged in some of it. We still don't know the full extent of it because it's being hidden from us, because the pedo cabal is running the presidency and keeping everyone from getting hurt. Everybody in the Epstein list is in the freaking administration for a reason. But a lot of these people are Christian. Every day when I see crazy stuff happening, 90% of the time it's Christian based. Assault, sexual, whatever. And so if these guys are all supposed to be practicing prayer and Christianity, and they claim to be prayer loving Christian people, how can we know that this is actually going to be the thing that fixes us? Because it seems like it's the thing that's breaking us actually right now. People who claim to be Christian and certainly don't behave as such.
Well, they're not. They say they are, but they're liars. They're deceivers.
Yeah. They're utilizing the you're espousing. And so I'm like, why isn't, if they're praying all the time and whatever, how come we aren't getting enough prayer to make this thing happen? Maybe. I don't know.
God doesn't hear all prayers.
I thought he was all seeing and all knowing.
He is all seeing and he's all knowing. But I think that there are people who commit evil. And when you commit evil, you shut yourself off to the relationship with God. Because you are developing a relationship with Satan.
Huh. It's interesting. All right. So thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Give me your .coms one last time so we can book in that for the show.
WilliamHowardLloyd.com.
All right. Thank you, William, for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Order up his book, folks, wherever fine books are sold. You can find it anywhere on the internet there. It's called Destruction of Democracy, Essays on the Fight for Democracy by William H. Lloyd, Jr. Thanks, my honest, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss1 on the TikTok, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.